Day 3 of the trial of torture slaying suspect George Thomas began with testimony from a woman he's quite familiar with, his former girlfriend, Stacey Lawson. Lawson's testimony was highly anticipated to see that if she would give the state any ammunition against Thomas. She didn't give much. She testified about coming to the Chipman Street home in early January with Mr. Thomas and suspects Latavis Cobbins and Vanessa Coleman. She said that she left on January 2nd and that Thomas, Cobbins, and Coleman stayed behind. This house was leased by Lamarcus Davidson, who is the convicted ringleader in this case and was Cobbins' brother. She testified that the trio had planned on moving in with Davidson during this period. She said she left after Davidson pulled a gun on her. She did not see or talk to Thomas again until January 10th. And this would have been after the bodies of Channon Christian and Christopher Newsom had been discovered. She said that he, Cobbins, and Coleman returned to Lebanon, Kentucky, where they had all lived before this incident, and that she saw Mr. Thomas looking on a computer at the Knoxville News Sentinel's website, looking at a news article about the case and the probe, and she saw a picture of Davidson on the website that Thomas was looking at. We next had a witness, Ethel Freeman. The state had brought her back to testify for them, despite the fact that at Davidson's trial in October, she switched sides and testified for Mr. Davidson. The state needed her because she testified that she saw Mr. Thomas walking along Chipman Street in a time period that would have been a couple of hours after authorities believe Chris Newsom's body was set on fire. So the implication was that Mr. Thomas was returning from that endeavor. However, the defense quickly pounced on the fact that Ms. Freeman, in her stint as a defense witness for Mr. Davidson, had claimed that she saw Channon and Chris at a gas station before this alleged kidnapping would have taken place, and that they were begging for gas money. That in turn forced the state to attempt to discredit their own witness, Ms. Freeman, by putting on two bank officials to testify that Channon and Chris had plenty of money in their bank account, and to basically try to debunk that story. The prosecution also sent to the stand Davidson's girlfriend, Daphne Sutton, who had lived at the Chipman Street house before these crimes took place, but had left the day before the carjacking was said to occur. She testified that on Sunday, and this would have been Sunday evening, several hours after Chris was killed and set on fire near railroad tracks, and at a time when Channon was either dying inside the trash can or was being held in a bathroom out of sight, that she came to the house at Davidson's request to get some clothing that he said he had bought her, that Davidson blocked her from going into the bathroom or the kitchen. And more importantly for this prosecution, she said that Thomas was still in the Chipman Street house, that he was sitting in a chair in the living room in front of the television, rolling a marijuana cigarette. Defense attorney Tom Dillard made sure to note that Mr. Thomas did not engage with her at all, didn't try to block her from going anywhere, didn't say anything to her, and seemed disinterested. And this, of course, tracks with his defense theory that Thomas was basically in some kind of drug-induced phase where he just simply did not care or tried not to care about what was going on. the defense is obviously trying to paint him as someone who simply just went into a cocoon state during this crime spree. Fitzgerald wanted this jury to understand that Mr. Thomas would have been hard-pressed to ignore what was going on in that house. And so she had the Knoxville Police Department's firearm expert, who also has some skill at diagramming and drawing, Patricia Resig, who testified about measuring that house and compiling a diagram. She said the house measured about 805 square feet total. And then to really emphasize that figure and how small it is, Resig used a tape measure and the help of four people that work for authorities to basically rope off this house. And what the jury was able to see was that this house would have occupied less than half of the space of Judge Richard Baumgartner's courtroom. And we ended the day with that. Tomorrow, we may well hear from George Thomas himself in a tape-recorded statement he gave authorities shortly after his arrest. That statement has yet to be played in court because the defense has been very effective in blocking it from being played in some pretrial motion hearings. So when and if it's played, it will be a first not only for this jury, but for the families and other courtroom spectators.